Hello and welcome to the Interview, an interview series where we pull back the curtain and catch a glimpse of the personal side of the ordinary people who are achieving extraordinary results. Today, I'm here with Janine, also known as J9, out of Salem, Massachusetts. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great. So for people who might not know you or know a little bit about you and your business, although I think it's pretty clear to see that you are on brand for today's call, tell people a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in the business and what has your journey kind of been up until this point?
I've been in the business for 10 years. This is now my 11th year, so 10 official years, working on year 11. I've been with Keller Williams my entire career. They just kind of have the setup and situation that I like, so it works for me. Kind of, let's see, how long have we been coaching now? A couple years. Um, my business has it's been pretty good. I was in a marketing capacity, so I started out quickly. It wasn't really hard for me to pick up real estate sales. So it started out quickly, but then it kind of just settled in a regular place that wasn't working for me. So
Mhm.
I was kind of out on the hunt for something different and better, and that's when coaching came into my life.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's
And
that's
I
kind
was
of my
thinking, yeah, I was thinking back on it before this as we're going into the third year together, and looking at things and looking at cycles. And I think one of the biggest aspects of your business has always been building business around community, right? And so we've been making some minor tweaks to that. And when this airs, this will actually be airing in the month of June. So we'll be celebrating Pride. Many of the people who are going to be watching this may be members of the Katie Rainbow Network or people that have sent you business. And you've done a great job of building a business through agent to agent referrals, as well as working those microcosms and those communities that are there in your area. So maybe talk a little bit about your business model, not necessarily built on expireds for sale by owners. So how have you built a business that has consistently produced for you based on those relationships?
it really, you're right. It has been all about relationships. It started with sports. I play a lot of sports. Right now, I'm getting a little older, so we're just kind of sticking to softball for my health's sake, but still playing softball every year. I sponsor softball tournaments, so that group alone is enormous and obviously has a huge presence in LGBTQ, and we're always kind of into the pride stuff. So it kind of started from there, and with a little bit of your guidance and help, I stepped into a little bit of volunteer with the North Shore LGBTQ group. So they're a little bit older group that needed a little bit of help with their technology and kind of planning. And as you know, I have a lot of friends and I am like a people collector. So I know how to plan a party and plan a get together and have a good time. So I kind of stepped in a role there, helping them kind of expand that network and bring in younger people. And it wasn't just the same kind of like six people that hung out all the time. So we kind of expanded there, and God, what else? What else? The Rainbow Network, that has also been, thank you for kind of pointing me in that direction. It was there and happening, but I just kind of wasn't even looking in that direction. And God, connecting with it literally was like connecting with my family.
Mhm.
Every time we go to a mega camp or an event or the Alliance or something like that, it's just kind of getting back with my family and making those connections. And I have, more agent to agent referrals going in and coming out that than I've ever had in my entire career. So that has been a breath of fresh air for me.
I think what's really important to get across, and for this month, we are doing multiple interviews. Many people that you know and are a part of that family, Jack Smith and Brandon Beston and a few others. And I think one thing that might be a misconception by hearing some of the answers from you and from others might be like, oh, like if I just go to the clubs and if I just show up to the things and if I just do gay things, then like I'm going to get business. So where do you think is possibly a missing link for people, that it's one thing to be an observer or an auditor, and then there's something completely different about being intentional and participating and actually taking initiative. Like, what would you say is, even to yourself, being a part of the community for so long and then switching to be intentional, like what's that secret sauce that goes from just being a member to it actually being a part of your business?
I went through it kind of in the last year and a half, that transition. I went from I wanted to be more than me just showing up and just being the energy or the personality. That to me is just branding, I guess. But more intentional is actually making the relationships, getting the phone numbers, reaching out, inviting people to my area, or when I'm traveling in their area, even if it's not for work, that I'm reaching out and trying to make those connections. So I've built some incredible friendships that the same in the LGBTQ network, out at the clubs, out at the bars. It becomes friendships, and now they're referring me business on a pretty regular basis. It just happened to me yesterday. I went for lunch with a friend, and she's like, "Ah, I have this LGBTQ person who's coming into UMass Lowell, so I need you to, help them." And it's being intentional and making the friendships that I think really, really turn my business.
And so, with someone who is so relationship focused and that one-on-one connection, for anybody who can look behind you, they can see that there's quite a bit on your wall. What's the significance for you? Like, having that marketing background, like why not just rest on social media or just picking up the phone or when you're in town? What's the value to you to have this kind of machine of digital and print marketing to get in front of people?
Just one avenue, in my opinion. It doesn't work. Well, it works. It just works okay, though, right? You need to kind of put in the other aspects, networking, digital marketing, social media. It has to be kind of a cohesive machine that it will feed you. You don't have to pick up the phone call. You don't have to go door knocking. I mean, sure, if that's your joy and you find it there, absolutely 100% go and do it. But you don't have to do those things. It can be done with personal branding and networking. So you don't have to be stuck to just one kind of business model or
Mhm.
mold that everybody thinks it's cold calling and door knocking, and it certainly isn't. It isn't for me. People recognize this stuff. They recognize the recipes. They recognize the silly postcards with the dogs and things like that. But they also get information. I send out local market reports and what's going on in the area and things like that. So they get the education, but they also get the fun stuff. And I want that to represent my business.
Mhm.
So those things have helped me exponentially.
And so I know this, of course, by working with you, but maybe someone that's listening to this, not everybody's business is going to be the same, and you've already pointed that out. Yet, if they were going to get some cues or advice from you, how should someone effectively communicate with their database or building relationships within a community? What kind of communication are you doing on a monthly or quarterly basis to keep yourself in front of those people?
Break it down basically into you make the choice. Is it going to be my farm? Is it going to be my sphere? How big can I go? And in the beginning you asked me how much money was I spending on my marketing, and I'm like, I have no idea. Not very much, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
So when it's more intentional and focused, you can focus your message around my SOI. They get all the fun stuff. Sometimes my farm, because I don't want to pound them with all information all the time. They get the fun stuff too, but my SOI, I get to try out, kind of use them as my beta tests on my new ideas for postcards and marketing pieces. And then I get a little bit of feedback from them. So that's kind of what I do for that. I have to break it down. You have to make a decision on who are you going to target, and then once you're targeting those individuals, whether it's your sphere, whether it's the LGBTQ network. I mean, if you're going to the clubs and that's how you're collecting information, make sure that you're purposeful about it. Tag those people, make notes in your activity, and then start sending them cool postcards. Send them a QR to the next 6 club nights, or send them a discount, or go buy 10 tickets and do a giveaway for 10 free passes to get into Oil Can Harry's or wherever you may be from.
Right.
Those things work, and you don't have to do it on a massive scale. You can do it on a small scale and then scale it.
Right. And now you've done quite a bit. So you talked a little bit earlier in here in terms of the sports and creating community there. You've worked within the LGBT community in your area. You have the KW Rainbow Network. In addition to kind of communicating with them through a diversified approach of newsletters and social media and print with the postcards and whatnot, you also do events. You and I have planned quite a few J9 parties and a few other things. And so why is it important to do a party? I mean, is it just an opportunity to find a write-off, or where are you finding the ROI off of doing things in person like that?
Again, it's that those interpersonal connections. You can be intentional, and I can't meet everybody at every softball tournament all the time, but when I can do a little bit smaller scale event and invite those people that were there, then I can make those personal connections, and they're like, oh yeah, she's not just a party animal, or she's not just that softball player. Then we can kind of make that personal connection, and it, it translates into um, business, whether it's direct or referral from those people, because people are only gonna pay you if they know, like, and trust you. Those are the people who pay you. Anybody else, I don't know. I don't get money from anybody else.
Well, you've done a great job of building community and surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. And maybe for people who are watching this, they might assume that you have always been extremely extroverted and the life of the party. What would you say to someone that might think that, number one? And then number two is, what advice would you give to maybe some of the people that are watching this that, they'd love for their business to look like yours, in which they're able to find business within the communities and the passion projects that they have? What advice do you give to someone who's first starting out in that way?
Well, I was not always an extrovert, not always loving going out all the time. That came with choices and things that were door knocking was a little less desirable than going out in large groups. And it started with going out in large groups of friends and people that I was comfortable with. So you can make the decision to change. It's a
Mhm.
mindset, it's a choice. It's like anything else. I was just talking about, oh God, I'm out of shape, and like I got to make the choice to start eating salad and stop going out and drinking beers and eating pizza after the softball game. Like I got to get a salad. So, that it comes with a choice. And I would say to anybody who's starting out, you just have to make a choice and try it. Fail forward, try the things. If they don't work, try something else. And what was the other part of that question? You had two there.
Well, that's definitely one for the getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I love that you've identified it as a mindset, right? You're either choosing to stay that way, or you can put yourself in environments and do it in a smart way. I mean, you starting with friends and people that you're comfortable with and kind of allowing that to open up. The second part is for people who, they're maybe watching this interview and they're hearing that, you've built business around softball, and you've built business around the LGBT community, and you've built it around agent to agent referrals from across the country. And maybe some people that are on here are like, yeah, I've joined the group, I'm not getting any referrals, or I go to the events, but no one buys any real estate from me. What advice would you have for those people that are getting started and they would like a business that looks similar to yours?
Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Do it every day and keep doing it. You don't always get results. There are some months where, you and I are talking and I'm like, oh God, I'm doing it all and nothing's happening.
Mhm.
So just keep doing it and it will happen. It's like when I say to my buyers that are getting beat out there in the market, just keep making the offers and let's just keep doing it, and it will happen. It will happen if you stay consistent and truthful and authentic. The people that love you are going to find you, and it's going to happen.
So one of the things I do want to pivot just for a moment, there are people that are watching this and they're hearing a little bit about, you and I working together and the fact that you've been in business for years, you were in business for years without a coach, or at the very least without me as your coach. And so looking at the last 3 years, I think what people are always curious about is it worth it? Making that investment, doing something. Sometimes it just feels like you're just having a conversation with a friend or whatnot. I mean, where would you say for someone who, whether they're at a plateau or they just know that they can do more, why for you wasn't it a 6 month thing and then you stopped? I mean, why have we been doing this now for 3 years?
My God. The first year was so business changing and mindset changing for me. I didn't have any systems. I didn't treat it really like a business. I met Jack and he's like, "How much business did you do last year?" I was like, "I don't know, 12 or 15 million." He's like that's a business, and I was like, oh.
Ooh.
So we spent a long time putting things together and systems together, and that is number A1 plus why I have this machine,
Mhm.
that people keep calling me. I would say absolutely I had all those people there, but they weren't calling me because there was no, the authenticity was there, but there was no consistency. There was no intentionality. And there are times when I don't want to go on, a showing or a listing appointment or something. And I say, oh man, but I have coaching. So I can't tell him that I didn't go. So it's accountability for me. And aside from those are like very basic. You give me ideas or ask me questions that force the ideas out of my head. This wall behind me came up last night in a text message, and I said, do that and see how that looks. So that, I mean, that's why, and that's why I don't can't see us ever not being in business together. It
Yeah.
has been such a an amazing thing for my business. Absolutely.
Well, I think I talk about this for me personally, that I do think that some people look at coaching the way that maybe some people look at therapy, right? It's kind of like the I'm broken, I'm going to go get fixed and then I'm good. And I do believe that there are aspects of coaching that allow people, much like, the ferry that gets you from one side of the river to the other. I do think that there is a time and space for that. For me personally, I think the thing that I love is having years together, right? And I always use that language of being a business partner that doesn't share in the profits. Me knowing your pipeline and the people intimately and who we're talking about and getting them to the finish line. So I agree with you. And for me, selfishly, I hope that we are always working together. And I think what's most important about this is also realizing that it's not a one size fits all, right? Like your business model looks very different than Jack's. It looks very different than Brandon's. Yet each one of you are committed to this community. You're committed to building a business that is relationship oriented. And so, I think there's also something to be said that when this airs in June, there are some things that are going to be happening within the industry for later this year that's got some people uncertain. Why for you is the uncertainty not as big of an issue because you have built a relationship based business and because you are leaning into the processes more than the results? I mean, how is that giving you confidence going into whatever could be uncertain about the industry?
Wow, I can relate it sort of back to when the pandemic started. I, it was there was a lot of uncertainty. We didn't know if we were going to have jobs, and it kind of sort of sounds that way in the media now. But I don't know. And being in this coaching community and around all these people that are you know doing better and focusing on their business, the rest is just white noise. I have a coach here who I can talk about whatever is going to be a hurdle for me or an obstacle, in, keeping my business going, keeping my business afloat, those aren't even questions for me. It's like, how can I just, do better at what I'm doing and help as many people as I can around me. And, I mean, my bills getting paid and that kind of stuff, that's just so secondary. Uh, it's not even really on my radar. So, and I think that comes from the coaching community.
Mhm.
When I hired you, I was like, man, I hired you because I didn't want 2 months of no funds, right? And that's kind of like how my business was going. But I don't know, transformed in a business sense for certain.
I'm like, I feel like our largest challenge for your business is getting people to go look at houses in the snow. I feel like
It
always
certainly is.
it's January. It's like doesn't matter about anything nationally. It is like get your shovel, go look at the house, go look at the house,
Oh
go look at the
God,
house. Well,
the worst.
we'll end with this, which is any tips, and you've already given kind of some that are there, but I really think in terms of people who are looking for that idea of your people will find you, you have to leave those breadcrumbs for them to find you. Anything else that we've maybe not talked about that you would say or give advice to anybody who is trying to build a business that they can then be found for who they are?
Yes, you need to definitely find a business partner, whether it's a coach or God, there's so many words for coaches, right? You need to find a business partner that you can accountability coach, whatever, that you can bounce your ideas off of, that you can um, find accountability with, and somebody that is going to help propel you forward in trying out your ideas. It's like that fail forward is so important. Like everything doesn't land. Sometimes I send out 500 bucks worth of postcards and literally not a click, and then I send out one that I think is the worst and everybody loves it. So I mean, that's the thing. I say just keep trying it and just keep moving forward. Make authentic connections, be yourself, and just find things you like. And there will be people around. I mean, even if you're an introvert and you like to do solitary things, there are other people who like that. There are Facebook groups of people that join those groups, and they talk all the time. So it doesn't have to necessarily always be an in-person thing. I've sold homes to people I've never met.
That's beautiful. Well, Janine, I appreciate you as always, and I definitely appreciate you taking the time to share a little bit about what's going on in your world. If anybody wanted to get in contact with you, and this is a plug, if anybody has any referrals for your area, what areas do you cover and how can they get in contact with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I am, people will say Boston, but I am North Shore. So if you think Salem, Massachusetts, and the Witches, that is where my home base is. But I go all the way down to Cape Cod. So it's pretty much Eastern Massachusetts. They can call me 978-210-6204, or they can email me jwuschke@kw.com.
You want to spell Wuschke for people?
Wuschke.
Perfect. All right, Janine, I appreciate you. And for all of you watching, stay tuned for another episode of The Interview.